Nobody expects anything like this to happen, let alone the attention that it's gotten. It's very surreal.
Can you tell us a little bit about your daughter?
In a way, you know, the whole world has come to know your daughter, Gabby. Does that give you some comfort?
Yes. She was beautiful. She was creative, artistic, talented, a genuine person, and we all loved her so much.
Gabby Petito never goes outside.
Bubbly, energetic, adventurous. Gabby Petito wanted to share her life with the world. She succeeded, though tragically, not in the way she planned. These are the pictures Gabby wanted us to see.
Brian's stretching, doing some morning yoga.
Outside looking in, she did look happy. It might not have been as great as people online perceived.
But this is the vision that's now impossible to unsee.
Where did he hit you? Don't worry, just be honest.
He grabbed my face, just like this.
It's confronting to watch a disaster unfold before our eyes. But it's even tougher to look away.
This has been one of those stories where there's been surprises and twists and turns all along the way.
2 people went on a trip, 1 person returned.
Now, Gabby is dead. So too is her fiancé, the man who claimed to love her, but likely killed her.
She was a bright, shining star. Now she is a star.
Tonight,
She was stolen. She was taken from us.
answering the hardest questions.
What goes through your mind?
I was just shocked.
How did it come to this?
I don't know, we just been fighting all morning.
For me, it's a murder in slow motion.
Why were warning signs ignored?
Not only did we see them, but we saw an altercation.
Could and should Gabby Petito have been saved? It's 2.5 months since Gabby was murdered. As her family struggles with deep grief, they're overwhelmed by a need to let everyone know who their daughter really was.
Everybody sees the pictures of her out there as an adult, but when I close my eyes and I think of her, I still remember that little blonde hair, bright blue-eyed little girl with her hair up in, ponytails and always smiling no matter what.
And what was Gabby like growing up?
A spitfire. She did a lot. She was very busy. She loved her friends. She always had a bunch of friend groups. She enjoyed school, and she was a beautiful artist, brilliant artist, just so talented.
Growing up, Gabby was the centre of a happily blended family. Mum Nicole and stepdad Jim in one home, stepmum Tara and father Joe in another.
Her laughter, those damn eyes too. Couldn't keep her in trouble with those eyes. It was the worst. Trying to keep her grounded was the worst. It was so unfair. But her laughter was so infectious. Her smile was so infectious. She was happy, genuinely happy. She's like, "Yo, come on, let me show you this." She'd want to take you. Let's go, jump in the car. Let's just go for a ride. We'll check it out. We'll go to the beach. Just listen to the ocean. Look at the waves. Look at the sand. Watch the sunrise. Watch the sunset. That's what she was.
Inspired by adventure, no one in her family was surprised when in July, Gabby quit her job and announced she was setting off in her little white van for a trip across America. And the 22-year-old wasn't just going to live her dream, she was going to share it too.
Hello, and good morning. It is really nice and sunny today.
The wannabe social media star invited the whole world to tag along for the ride.
I love the van.
But it wasn't just Gabby her followers got to know. By her side, through it all, was her fiancé, Brian Laundrie.
We've been lucky so far at all the places we've stayed, but I'd say this is one of the best so far. Since we left New York, I've only set up my hammock once, and now we're all the way in Utah, and luckily enough, I was able to set up my hammock in one of these trees.
And we're kind of like in the desert.
Very few trees.
In Bryan, Gabby thought she'd found a free-spirited soulmate, and her frequent Instagram and YouTube posts were as much about their love story as they were about location shots.
When did Gabby first meet Bryan?
They were friends in high school. So they've known each other for quite a few years.
And when did they become a couple?
2019-ish.
Yeah, it was after high school.
Yeah.
They kind of like reconnected again and started hanging out and dating. And
It happened pretty quickly, but, you know, he seemed fine. I don't know. He was very polite and quiet.
So in your mind, she was heading on this trip across America with the right kind of guy, someone that she was in safe hands with?
Absolutely, yeah.
For more than a month, the couple made their way across the United States, stopping at some of the country's most breathtaking natural wonders, making memories that were meant to last a lifetime and sharing them with their families and followers.
How often were you in contact with Gabby while her and Bryan were travelling?
I would say on average every other day or so, almost every day. She would text, she would FaceTime, send me pictures of where they were going. I loved getting the updates. I was in awe of what she was doing. It was just amazing.
As parents, did you have any concerns about this trip?
Oh, of course. I worried. I told her to be careful, be safe, you know, make sure to be aware of your surroundings. You know, don't trust everybody. But I felt safe because she was with Bryan, and I felt like she would be okay. I thought he would take care of her.
How wrong Gabby's family were.
Hi, I'm calling to report a domestic dispute. They just drove off.
What were they doing?
We drove by and the gentleman was slapping the girl.
He was slapping her?
Yes, and then we stopped. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off.
All right, I will let somebody know. Thank you.
It was 6 weeks into the trip when the first cracks appeared in the carefully curated facade Gabby Petito and Bryan Laundrie had created.
Currently doing 45 miles an hour. Zone through here is 25. Oh! Subject just hit the curb.
Coming up...
He really stresses me out.
It's just hard to watch.
An unfolding and preventable tragedy.
It's a murder in slow motion.
All caught on camera.
You've just greenlit the abuser.
And...
I just remember...
the last time Gabby is seen alive.
She was crying.
That's next. This is the footage that introduced most of the world to Gabby Petito and Bryan Laundrie.
You want to place your vehicle into park and go ahead and turn it off for me? No, park? Oh, it is in park, yeah. Okay, turn off your engine. Go ahead and set your keys on the dash for me, all right? What's your guys' names?
Gabby.
I'm Bryan. Gabby, Bryan? Okay. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm just sorry. We've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
On the 12th of August, 6 weeks into their trip across America, the couple's picture-perfect partnership began to publicly unravel.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
What you're watching is distressing police body camera vision, recorded after the couple was pulled over following reports of a domestic violence incident in Moab, Utah.
Hi, I'm calling to report a domestic dispute. They just drove off.
What were they doing?
We drove by and the gentleman was slapping the girl.
For all their attempts to portray happiness, this was the reality of Gabby and Bryan's life on the road.
I just quit my job to travel across the country, and I'm trying to start a blog. So I've been building my website, so I've just been really stressed, and he doesn't really believe that I could do any of it, so that's kind of been like I don't know, he's like down there. I don't know, we've just been fighting all morning, and he wouldn't let me in the car before. And then
Why wouldn't he let you in the car? Because you're OCD?
He told me I needed to calm down. Yeah. But I'm perfectly calm. I'm calm all the time, and he really stresses me out, and this is a rough morning.
My instinct about what I was seeing on camera was this is bad news. I knew it wasn't going to end well. For me, it's a murder in slow motion. This was preventable.
Like millions around the world, criminal profiler Laura Richards has pored over Gabby and Brian's encounter with the police. She says it's clear that coercive control was a factor in the relationship.
This was one human being behaving in a way that was insidious, controlling and manipulative, not just to his partner, but to the police officers.
For more than an hour, police went back and forth between the couple, trying to get to the bottom of their fight. From the outset, Brian was cool and calm and tried to downplay the incident with Gabby.
Do you mind lifting up your right sleeve for me? I'm curious about something. Oh, okay. It's like clothing there. I suppose fingernails, but I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining about fingernails. Is it bruised or tender or anything like that? No. Okay. I'm fine, and I love Gabby. I hope she doesn't have too many complaints about me.
Initially, Gabby tried to protect her fiancé.
Is there something on your cheek here? Looks like, did you get hit in the face? Kind of looks like something like hit you in the face. And then over on your arm, shoulder, right here. That's new, huh? It's kind of a new mark.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
But then admitted that Brian had been violent with her.
2 people that came to us and told us that they saw him hit you. There's 2 people saying that they saw him punch you. We're just independent witnesses by Moonflower.
Well, to be honest, I definitely hit him first.
Where'd you hit him?
I slapped him in the face.
You slapped him first, and then just on his face?
He gets cool, just shut up.
Did he hit you though? I mean, it's okay if you're saying you hit him, and then I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth if he actually hit you. Because
I guess, yeah, but I hit him first.
Where did he hit you? Don't worry, just be honest.
He grabbed my face, I guess. I definitely have a cut right here, I can feel it.
Yeah.
Touch it, it burns.
This could have been, and should have been, the turning point in this story. But even after pushing Gabby for the truth, police seemed to side with Brian.
From when I first got here, we were more worried about what kind of a guy you are from what we heard. But in talking to your girlfriend, it sounds to me like maybe this is not so clear cut. So.
You've just green-lit the abuser. You've just reinforced his behaviour. And I think that he felt relieved, and I saw that relief. It was palpable. I saw it on camera, and he's joking, and he's sort of making jokes. And he clearly lied to the police officers, and they believed everything that he said. That makes me angry.
We sympathize with you, but based on what you've said, and based on what our witnesses said, and even based on what your fiancé has mentioned, trying his very hardest not to have you in any trouble, he does have marks on him that witnesses say were caused by you slapping him. And that even you say you slapped him and were aggressing him first. And I don't have anyone saying that he actually punched you aggressively.
Having identified Brian as the victim, by law, the officer should have charged Gabby. But he was clearly conflicted and discussed it at length with his colleagues.
She's got to be 105 pounds soaking wet, 22, full of anxiety, having a really tough time. Not making excuses, but I mean, it is written in the code. We do have a domestic assault here. He's not wanting to pursue it. How far do you want to go with this? Like, you know why the domestic assault code is there. The reason why they don't give us discretion on these things is because too many times women who are at risk want to go back to their abuser. They just wanted him to stop, and they don't want to have to be separated. They don't want him charged. They don't want him to go to jail. And then they end up getting worse and worse treatment, and then they end up getting killed.
But the officer decided Gabby wasn't the one at risk.
In no way, shape, or form that I can perceive does what happened here, a little slap fight between fiancés who love each other, want to be together, can I perceive that this is going to digress into the situation where he's going to be a battered man? Right. But then again, I don't have a crystal ball.
In the end, the police ordered Gabby and Brian to separate for the night.
You want me to let him know that you love him and that you'll see him tomorrow and stuff like that?
No other action was taken, and no one followed up with them.
No problem. Have a good day.
Do you think an opportunity was missed here to prevent this tragedy from happening?
In my opinion, there were multiple opportunities missed to prevent the escalation that happened. Had Brian's behaviour been picked up, there may have been a very different outcome.
What was it like, Nicole, for you as her mother when you saw that footage?
It's just hard to watch. I wanted to jump through the screen and rescue her. I saw a young girl that needed someone to just hug her and keep her safe. I just felt so bad for her.
For the next 2 weeks, the couple continued on their trip, posting more videos and happy snaps along the way.
She said, I'm going to Grand Teton. She was excited to go see that area. I didn't even know where it was. I never heard of it. She was just said, okay, and I had to look it up and see where it was, so I was excited for her. It looked beautiful.
But the tension in their relationship continued to grow. And by the time the couple had reached Wyoming in late August, Gabby was at breaking point.
We were actually at a lunch. It was our first full day in Wyoming, and we just by chance happened to walk into this little Mexican restaurant. Gabby was very clearly emotional. She was crying. Brian was evidently angry. He was, I would say he had a temper. And that's when I kind of started to take notice, like, wow, this guy is really, and I told Matt, my exact words were, he's creeping me out.
Matt England and Nina Angelo were also in Wyoming on the 27th of August when they crossed paths with Brian and Gabby, who were in the middle of a heated argument with restaurant staff.
I just remember that she was crying and was talking with the hostess, and it appeared she was apologizing or about that for his behavior.
His demeanor, he was angry, and it was temperamental, and it was rude. It's just, yeah, and it was enough to make me feel uncomfortable. I think the best way to describe Gabby in that moment is she seemed extremely emotionally overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, she seemed like, the best way I could describe it is Gabby seemed like she was at her breaking point.
We now know this is likely the last time Gabby Petito was seen alive.
And not only did we see them, but we saw an altercation, right? So that paints a really clear picture of both of their personalities.
When did you begin to get worried?
I was worried probably day 4 and 5. I was texting her every day anyway, but I wasn't getting responses. By day 6, 7, I was checking her social media. I didn't see any activity. And I started calling her dad, and I was talking to Jim about it, and I said, I'm worried. And everybody was like, she's fine, she's fine. They're out in the mountains, they have no signal. And I said, no, it's not like her.
When she couldn't reach Gabby directly, Nicole tried to contact Brian and then his family, but she got no response. It made her worry something might have happened to both of them. On the 11th of September, after 10 days of silence, Nicole and Jim reported Gabby missing. But Brian wasn't missing. Remarkably, he was at home in Florida with his parents and had been for nearly 2 weeks.
When did you find out that he returned without her?
The night of the 11th, when the detective came to my door to let me know that the van was in Florida with him. She also said that he had obtained a lawyer. I almost fell on the ground because I was just like, where's Gabby? And that was my response to that information. And I just went into shock. I knew something was wrong.
Coming up,
I'm not sure I've ever covered a story where there's this much interest.
the desperate search for Gabby.
He shows up without her. What does he tell his parents?
While Brian's family stays silent.
What do you make of the Laundrie family's response?
And the police bungles that let him run.
We missed him going out there.
That's next.
Tonight, new developments in the nationwide search for a missing Long Island native.
We start this half hour with the breaking news surrounding the search for a young woman from New York gone missing.
Right now on ABC Action News, desperate for answers.
Plus the ever-expanding search for Gabby Petito.
So you haven't heard from your daughter in 10 days. You reach out to the people who likely last saw her alive. You get onto the authorities to report her missing, and then you learn that her fiancé's family has hired a lawyer. What goes through your mind?
I was just shocked. I don't even remember how. I was just in shock. I was shaking, and from that moment forward, it was like, we need to find Gabby. And we just went into we didn't sleep after that. We just went into the mode of, get her face out there, let's find her immediately.
Can you tell us a little bit about your daughter?
The search for Gabby Petito was urgent and intense, and the story very quickly became headline news.
I think people were first interested because you had this beautiful couple that portrayed themselves as being so happy on the road, and everyone was so convinced that this journey was so incredible. And I think when it took a turn, people became very, very curious what was happening behind the scenes.
Brian Enton was one of the first journalists to start reporting on Gabby's disappearance.
I'm not sure I've ever covered a story where there's this much interest. You have the entire country and really the entire world trying to find Gabby Petito.
It wasn't just the mainstream media paying attention. Online, Gabby's story was gaining extraordinary momentum.
Pause this, screenshot it, share this. This girl is actively missing.
The public is invested, and they're going through every single Instagram post, every single post this couple has ever made, basically, and looking for every little clue. The things that people find, it's so unbelievable, things that I would have never even noticed.
Her roots are not there, especially in comparison to some of them before that.
Driving the intrigue was the extraordinary revelation that Brian Laundrie was refusing to cooperate with the police.
2 people went on a trip, 1 person returned, and that person that returned isn't providing us any information.
Controversially, Brian was only a person of interest in Gabby's disappearance, not a suspect. And that meant police couldn't force him or his parents to talk. Their silence was torture for Gabby's family, especially her dad, Joe.
What do you make of the Laundrie family's response to this, to you?
There's a lot of things that I would like to say that probably aren't appropriate for the channel that we're on.
You can say what you like.
I don't know if that swearing goes on your network, you know. The more I think of them or him, you know, that's gonna, you know, I get angry.
The police weren't talking to Brian, but they were watching him, setting up cameras in neighbours' yards to keep an eye on him, assuring the Petitos and the public that they were monitoring his movements.
All I'm gonna say is I know where Brian's at.
But as it turns out, not very well.
So the very strange thing is Brian Laundrie's parents were not cooperating with the police. They would not talk to the police about the disappearance of Gabby Petito. And obviously it was very, very frustrating to Gabby's family and to everyone following this case. Suddenly they call the police and say, we want to talk to you, but we don't want to talk about Gabby. We want to talk about Brian. Brian has now disappeared.
When the police arrived at the Laundrie's house, they were met with chaos and concern.
Where's Gabby? Where's Gabby?
Inside, there was confusion, as Chris and Roberta Laundrie told the authorities their son had left home to go on a hike, but hadn't returned.
Sir, what do you know? Is she safe? Brian Laundrie talking. Is she safe? Is Gabby safe?
The police were forced to admit that Brian left undetected after the surveillance team confused Roberta Laundrie for her son.
Do you think police have dropped the ball here in terms of essentially letting him escape or letting him disappear under their watch, supposedly?
I think police have been working very, very hard around the clock, but I think there are some really big questions about whether they actually knew where Brian Laundrie was when they said they knew.
On opposite sides of the country, 2 searches were now underway. In Florida, police were looking for Brian Laundrie in the Carlton Reserve, while teams looking for Gabby Petito were in the Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming.
The Grand Tetons are absolutely beautiful. I mean, they're a majestic mountain. It's just a very gorgeous, very rural area. I mean, there's not much out there. I mean, it's pretty you're out there in wilderness, for the most part.
Like Gabby and Brian had been doing, Kyle and Jen Bethune were living their dream on the road and sharing it online.
The freedom to be who you want to be. You don't have rules out here, and you don't have to be put in a little box. You get to live life on your terms.
Y'all, look at this! It's the freaking Tetons!
In late August, they were travelling through the Grand Teton National Park when they spotted a white van on the side of the road.
And what stood out to us was that it had Florida license plates on it. And we were from Florida. And so we wanted to say hi, but it looked very dark. Everything was closed up. We just assumed that maybe they were out hiking.
At the time, they didn't think much else of it. But when Gabby's disappearance started making headlines, the Bethunes, like the rest of the online community, turned into digital detectives.
I ran to the laptop and I pulled up our GoPro footage, and I was just praying. I was watching us, go down the thing, and I was like, please let this be the van, please. And there was a little white image, and it just kept getting closer and closer and closer. And as soon as it went by, I just knew that was Gabby's van. It was unbelievable. I mean, I had goosebumps all over my body, and we were just in disbelief.
Kyle and Jen called the FBI, and authorities started searching the area. On the 19th of September, 300 metres from where her van had been parked, police made a discovery.
Earlier today, human remains were discovered, consistent with the description of Gabby Petito.
I've had to make some tough decisions in my life, tough phone calls. I'm a captain in the fire department. I was an ex-chief in my volunteer fire department, and I've seen some things and had to handle some things. And not one of those moments ever prepared me for the FBI walking through our door to tell us that they found remains consistent of Gabby. And then having to call home and to tell her mother, my wife, who I couldn't even hold at the time, that Gabby was found and she was gone.
And even though I knew that we were going to find her, that was the hardest phone call I've ever had to take.
Just hoping that at that moment,
that she was in a place that she wanted to be, looking at the beautiful mountains.
at that moment, she found peace and was just looking at the mountains behind her, and maybe at that moment that she would just put herself in a better place. And that's all we could do. That's all we could pray for. It's something you never think is gonna, you see it, you.
I watch these shows. I watch 60 Minutes and Dateline and 48 Hours, and it's always very.
It's somebody else.
Interesting. It's somebody else's family, but you never ever think it's gonna be yours. It's just, it's surreal.
Do you remember the last thing you said to her?
I said, I love you. The last thing I said to her, my very last sentence was, I love you. And her last sentence to me was, I love you too.
In the weeks that followed, an autopsy revealed what her family had feared. Gabby had been murdered.
We hereby find the cause and manner of death to be death by strangulation, and manner is homicide.
Parents aren't supposed to bury their children.
At any age.
At any age. Gabby was 22 years old. Her life was stolen from her. She was stolen. She was taken from us.
She was taken. At somebody else's hand. It's not fair.
Coming up,
I think Brian's parents did help him.
behaviour beyond belief.
Gabby died of strangulation.
Spilling the Laundrie family's secrets.
Do you think they're involved, your parents?
That's next. With confirmation Gabby Petito had been murdered, the search for her killer intensified. And the only person police were looking for was Brian Laundrie.
According to Brian Laundrie's parents, he went for a hike in a wildlife reserve here in Florida.
While his fiancé was missing.
Right, exactly, which is very, very strange.
The Carlton Reserve was somewhere Brian knew well. He had hiked and camped there before, but it wasn't an easy area for police to search.
You look around from up here in the helicopter, you can tell just how massive it is, 24,000 acres.
We're looking through wooded areas, we're looking through bodies of water, we're looking through swampy areas, and we're deploying the resources to be able to do that. We have air units, we have drones, we have the swamp buggies, air boats, multiple law enforcement agencies. We're deploying every resource to get through any terrain that we encounter in our search areas.
As the days and weeks went on, the hunt became more desperate.
This is wearing on everyone. Everybody has a level of stress. Everybody has the drive, and that's really what's carrying us through, is the drive to try to find Brian and try to put closure to this investigation.
By now, a warrant had been issued for Brian's arrest. Not for Gabby's disappearance or death, but for bank fraud, with police alleging he'd spent more than $1,000 on Gabby's debit card as he made his way home after she'd been killed. But Chris and Roberta Laundrie still refused to talk.
How do you feel to know that Gabby died of strangulation in the wilderness of Wyoming? She used to live with you. How does that make you feel?
The deafening silence angered Gabby's supporters.
Was your son involved in strangling Gabby?
We're seeking justice for Gabby and the Petito family.
While his parents weren't prepared to say what they knew about Gabby's murder, Brian's sister Cassie did speak out.
We want to know what the hell.
Oh, hey!
We have fully cooperated with the police since September 11th when they called. We are just as upset, frustrated, and heartbroken as everybody else.
And like everyone else, Cassie was questioning her mum and dad.
I am losing my parents and my brother and my children's aunt and my future sister-in-law on top of this, and you're not helping.
Why your parents? Why your parents? You're talking about Christmas.
They're not talking to us either.
Why aren't they talking to you guys?
If I knew, I would say. I don't know.
Do you think they're involved, your parents?
I don't know. No.
You don't know?
We know.
You're not involved?
We have literally been finding everything out with the news with like everybody else.
She was very thorough. I mean, she was forthcoming. I believe her. There was no nonverbal communications when that conversation was happening. There were no hands to the face. She wasn't rolling her eyes. I mean, she was straightforward, forthcoming. And now the parents have distanced themselves from her.
Lenny DePaul is a former US Marshal who spent decades hunting dangerous criminals. While he believes Cassie, he thinks Chris and Roberta had something to hide.
I think Brian's parents did help him. Once he came home, he shows up in the van without her. What does he tell his parents? Oh, we broke up. I left her out there. I just decided to drive the van back home and, let's go camping. It just doesn't make sense. You have to connect the dots. You got to put that puzzle together. You can't leave no stones unturned. You're looking at everybody as a fugitive investigator. You have to.
The Laundries were slow to help initially, but once they were involved, the search sped up.
The father of Brian Laundrie joined the search for his son this morning.
On the 20th of October, 2 months after Gabby Petito had been killed, and 37 days after Brian Laundrie had been reported missing, search crews in the Carlton Reserve made a breakthrough.
Investigators found what appears to be human remains, along with personal items, such as a backpack and notebook belonging to Brian Laundrie.
Detectives don't know how Brian died, but it's likely he was dead before the police were even looking for him. The manhunt is over, but the search for answers isn't.
Brian has now been found dead, What does that mean for the case?
He sent a strong message to everybody that's been following this thing. He's obviously guilty, and unfortunately, Gabby Petito is no longer with us as well.
Coming up, how would you describe his actions?
Despicable.
Confronting the unimaginable truth.
It's just scary. You don't know someone.
And Gabby's legacy.
You made me proud, and I couldn't be prouder as a father.
Her family's vow to help others.
If it's just one, maybe it's worth it.
That's next.
Gabby Petito never goes outside.
In the 2.5 months since Gabby Petito disappeared, her first and only YouTube video has been viewed more than 6 million times. It's the kind of attention she could only have dreamed about in life.
She wanted to share her experiences with the world, what she was doing, the YouTube channel and her social media accounts, and we look forward to seeing those pictures and videos every day, just like everybody's starting to see now. So it's pretty incredible to see the rest of the world seeing how talented she was.
And that's what she wanted.
That's what she wanted.
That's why she started the YouTube channel, so she could inspire other people to travel and just live life to the fullest.
That her life was likely taken by her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, is something Gabby's family is still trying to comprehend.
To think that someone could do this to the person they were supposed to love more than anyone in the world.
It's scary. It's just scary that you don't know someone.
You think you know them, but you don't.
How would you describe his actions?
Despicable. It's
what he did to her.
Disgusting.
I want to ask why he couldn't just let it go and walk away, whatever the reason was for it. Why couldn't he just walk away? Leave her be.
You described to me earlier the Brian that you met, somebody that you thought was nice, was pleasant, was polite. Who is Brian to you now?
Coward.
As a strong, honourable man and father, can you believe this kind of behaviour from someone like Brian?
The world doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't. There's a lot of bad people in this world, I'm sure. But there's many, many more good people. And I'll tell you, if you look on social media, they're out there. They're out there. People are trying to help others make a difference and pushing this message out there. And changes are happening. And that shows you that the good outweighs the bad every time. Every time.
What is it about this case that has struck you most?
I think the thing that struck me the most is the way that the country and the world has grabbed onto this and wanted to help solve it, and actually helped solve it through social media and through the work that they can do at home sitting behind their computer.
This was supposed to be a romantic, idyllic trip for a young couple in love, and it's turned out to be anything but.
When we first saw the videos of them on this trip, it just looked so amazing, and they looked so happy, and they were such a beautiful couple, and it's awful to see the way this thing has turned around. I was hoping we would just be here a couple of days and that Gabby would be found alive and that we could really have a happy ending to this. I never expected that this would take so many twists and turns, and that we would still be here, and that this would still be such a mystery.
Brian's stretching, doing some morning yoga.
What are the key questions you have?
Why would you just leave her there?
And why wouldn't you come forward from the beginning so we could find her or bring her home? The love of your life, a person you talked about marrying, the person you lived with, you traveled with, you went to school with, and you left her in the wilderness. I don't know who can do that to anybody. I don't understand it. We don't understand it.
All the chocolate melted.
I know, it's a river of chocolate.
Police continue to investigate Gabby Petito's murder. But knowing exactly what happened in Wyoming isn't a priority for her dad, Joe.
Maybe, I don't get the answers that I need. And maybe the world doesn't get the answers that they need. But it still shouldn't detract from what we're trying to do. If he did truly have something to do with Gabby's death, it's not going to bring her back to me. So it doesn't change the focus that we should have, and that's just making a difference.
In starting the Gabby Petito Foundation, her parents hope they can draw attention to other missing persons and domestic violence issues.
I'd hate to see someone else end up like Gabby. And I using her story to stop that from happening, by all means use it. It's a story that needs to be heard, and it can make a difference in someone's life. If it's just one, maybe it's worth it. I couldn't be more proud as a father seeing her literally touch the globe, and she's gonna help a lot of people. She's already helped a lot of people, but I still see stories that aren't coming online, and I still see people missing that aren't getting the notoriety that they should. So we still got a lot of work to do. And that's my personal motivation. I'm gonna continue down the positive path, because the dark path I don't wanna go down. I wanna stay focused on doing good things and good change that's gonna help a lot of people. And that's what we all wanna do as parents.
What will Gabby's legacy be?
That she made a difference. That people saw a beautiful soul, and she had an impact, that changed the lives of a lot of people and the world. There's no more amazing legacy that you could have.
10 is just coming in on me. The wind is so bad. I've just been sitting here like this for a while.
What would you say to Gabby now, if you could?
I love you, and I hope I make you proud. Because you made me proud, and I couldn't be prouder as a father.
I think she'd be very proud of you right now, Joe.
I hope so. I really do.